The pick is in.
The Atlanta Hawks have made a selection in the 2025 NBA draft. I'm Tenitra Batiste, joined now by host of Locked On Hawks, Brad Rowland, and the Hawks selected Asa Newell, the forward, out of Georgia with the number 23 pick. But before we talk about the pick, Brad, got to talk about the Hawks, Celtics, and Nets reportedly agreeing to a 3-team deal Tuesday to send Kristaps Porzingis and a second-round pick to the Hawks, Terrence Mann, and Atlanta's 22nd pick to the Nets, Georges Niang, and the second rounder landing in Boston. What'd you think about those moves for the Hawks?
I really liked it. I thought it was a good kind of calculated risk for Atlanta. Porzingis has the injury issues that we all know. He had the illness this last season, but he kind of unlocks a lot for the Hawks with his size and also his shooting ability. The Hawks, every team's looking for that, guy who can anchor at the rim defensively and also shoot. And the Hawks are looking for that, and they got that in Porzingis at a cost that was very manageable. You give up a first-round pick, but it wasn't like that was what it probably would have been a year ago to get Porzingis. So you're kind of buying low at a good time and adding a player that can definitely help you.
Yeah, I think, like you said, to that point, having sort of that true big, they've got bigs, but having that true big and that type of versatile big, especially as guys with the likes of Onyeka Okongwu kind of finding his form in that space and kind of knowing that they might be ready to pretty much part ways with Clint Capella, it does seem like, I love the word you used, calculated risk. Now, the Hawks get Asa Newell by way of the New Orleans Pelicans. More of a good move, bad move, or a surprising one for you?
I love the trade, especially, trading down, getting a unprotected first-round pick next year from New Orleans. That's a fantastic value. That was a great piece of business, in making calls around the league. Everyone was kind of in unison about how good of a value the Hawks got in that trade. And then with Newell, you got, local products, played at Georgia, certainly a very reasonable pick at 23, especially, defensively, really flies around, good athlete. Has some uncertainty on offense, but that's what you're going to get in the 20s. Nobody's perfect in the 20s, and I think a guy that certainly adds talent and youth and upside to the Hawks.
Yeah, and he's a guy as well, to your point, just his ability to kind of bring something fresh, something new. I think that's the direction that we're seeing the Hawks go in. So when you look at that pick, Brad, also as kind of like a balance, if you will, because you get a little bit of that veteran presence plus with a Kristaps Porzingis, but then you look at the Hawks making that move to get some youth in there with an Asa Newell. So how do you feel like Asa Newell kind of rounds this team out just in terms of what the new front office is trying to do?
I think he fits well as far as being able to play with Okongwu, with Porzingis, some positional versatility, some defensive versatility, in particular the way he flies around. He's kind of a tweener, but that's not a bad thing. It kind of lets you to do a lot of different things. And I think especially if he shoots, that'd be very helpful. So he slots right in. And also, given where they have been in right now recently, he doesn't have to play a ton right away, which is where you want to be for a 19-year-old, 20-year-old guy. So being able to be patient with him, he can add down the line.
Yeah, and that was the next question I was going to ask, Brad, just to kind of wrap us up. I know it's kind of a quirky situation with the Hawks because they're just like in playoff purgatory. I mean, every year you and I are having a conversation about playing. So do you see anything? And I'll give it to you open, whether it's a little bit from Newell or whether it's a lot from what they could potentially get out of the trade space. Do you feel like this team is rounding into a team that can compete in what we know is going to be a wide open Eastern Conference? Unfortunately, because of the situation that the Pacers find themselves in with Tyrese Halliburton, what the Knicks find themselves in with, because does anybody want that head coaching job? And what do the Celtics find themselves in? Not just with Jason Tatum, but even the recovery period for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I think so. I think adding Porzingis, again, kind of a risk with the health, but if he's healthy, and with pairing with this youth, the team that's taken a step forward, growth is not linear, but they have a lot of young guys who project to get better, not worse. And that's really helpful. If you can get Jalen Johnson back, like he's on track to be this year, fill out the rest of the roster. They have more flexibility. They have exceptions to add to this team. They are in a position to definitely make more of an impact on the race in the Eastern Conference already. And then they, again, will be very active, I would imagine, over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I like the Asa Newell pick. I like the Kristaps Porzingis move as well, maybe moving the needle for the Hawks. Appreciate you, Brad. And for more on Asa Newell, here's Locked On Bulldogs host Clint Shamblin.
Asa Newell is the best rim protector in the draft and potential three-point threat in the NBA. This is Clint Shamblin, Locked On Bulldogs, your team every day. I'm here talking about Asa Newell and how he will go high in this draft because not only can he protect the rim, he is smooth and athletic and finishes in the paint. He has incredible defensive ability. Not only can he go on the outside and D somebody up straight off the three-point line, he could go down low and hold his own. And lastly, he has a touch and a skill that the three-point is coming in his arsenal, that when he starts knocking those down consistently, as he showed in flashes at Georgia, he's going to be dynamic and a problem matchup for any NBA team. Your team getting Asa Newell has an absolute defensive player of the year candidate from day one, and somebody who could translate very soon into an offensive nightmare matched up against a big on the other team. Asa Newell, fantastic pickup out of Georgia.
Continue coverage of Asa Newell. Check out Locked On Hawks on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.